4020.
David Baines MP, welcome to the podcast. Congratulations on your victory last year. It seems a long time ago now. Life on the terraces at St Helens, did that prepare you for life in the House of Commons? Because I'm not sure which one's more unruly.
Lots of similarities. Yeah, good question. That and being a primary school teacher, I've got to say, was good prep for politics. Dealing with a classroom of kids, it's really similar. So yeah, I've had good training.
Yeah, I don't want to compare your peers, so to speak, to school children or people on the terraces.
Well, we all have our moments. Yeah.
The question I'm always wanting to ask, and you're the chair of this group, so I can ask you what it is. What does and why does it have such an unwieldy name? But that's against Parliament. The All Party Parliamentary Group for Rugby League. What do you actually do?
That's right. Yeah. So I've been trying to figure that out myself since last summer, so when I was elected. So I became an MP last July, and I've been involved in a few APPGs since then. They're good opportunities, basically. These all party parliamentary groups. And it's a mouthful. APPGs, they're a good opportunity for MPs from all parties, as the name suggests, to get together and discuss common interests, campaign on certain issues, promote whether it's sports or industries or whatever it might be. So I'm chair of one for local growth as well. So we're dealing with industry and businesses and all sorts of things in that one. This one obviously is about promoting the interests of rugby league. So it's not about investigating or inquiring what the RFL are up to and all that sort of thing. Although I've had lots of emails already from fans asking me to investigate what's going on. I have to be really clear, that's not what the APPG is for. But it's about promoting the interests of the game down in London, in Parliament and outside Parliament where we can as well. So promoting the sport, building relationships, and trying to help it grow.
You mentioned obviously the amount of influence that you have, and obviously fans might think you should and perhaps would want to have more. But what's the general perception of rugby league in Parliament?
Really positive, actually. Really positive. I mean, I found this in my working life before becoming an MP as well. You speak to people who are from areas that you don't think are traditionally rugby league heartlands, and as soon as I say I'm from St Helens, someone says, "Oh, rugby," and everyone's sort of aware of Saints to rugby team, and the amount of people who've sort of casually at one point or another watched the sport, caught a game on TV, enjoyed it, maybe not have understood it and not become lifelong fans, but they've seen it and respected it. Everyone I speak to down in Parliament now has nothing but respect for the players, for the game. Hopefully, doing the job of chair of the APPG, I can help promote it and help increase their understanding of it, and build those relationships. But yeah, everyone I speak to is, while maybe not knowledgeable about it, certainly has respect for it.
And presumably they don't see the frequent internecine strife that we have in the game. We probably view it through a more defined lens. You don't find yourself defending it a lot of the time, and what's going on in terms of governance and kind of thing.
I've had no sort of questions or queries from colleagues about that. Thankfully, because I wouldn't know how to answer, to be honest, because I know as much as everybody else. So no, none of that. I mean, it's, as I say, it's just people recognise that the athleticism of the players, the world class sportsmanship that's on the pitch. And I think our reputation is a good one, but it's not as widely understood or as widely appreciated as we'd like it to be.
We live in our little bubble, so everything that happens in rugby league is bigger than it probably is, as you say, in the outside world. But you say you've had emails about what's going on at the moment. I mean, constituents have wrote to my MP about the Royal Mail recently because my post deliveries have been disrupted. I've not thought to email him about the RFL at the moment, but you're actually getting emails about what's going on in the wider world of rugby league.
I mean, so one of the first ones I had, I think I became chair. I think I was elected in the autumn. I can't remember exactly when it was, but within a couple of weeks, I had an email from someone asking me to investigate the disciplinary panel because one of their team's players had been banned, and they thought it was unfair, and they wanted me to know if there's anything I could do about that. And I think I replied saying, "I wish, as a Saints fan, I'd be on a weekly mission." So no, thankfully, I don't have that power. But yeah, I've had a few emails in the last couple of weeks with everything going on from well-meaning, concerned rugby league fans asking me to try and find out what's happening because they're concerned about the direction of the game and what they perceive to be all the infighting and things like that and the disruption at the top. But yeah, that's unfortunately, or fortunately, I suppose that's not within my power or my gift.
It's bizarre because it has been raised in Parliament recently. I mean, the sport's been raised a lot recently, not just that, but Kevin Sinfield and this and that. So it does seem to cut through. And I guess it helps that the speaker's obviously a Warrington fan and the Secretary of State is a Wigan fan. I mean, how does your relationship with them work, especially when you're playing each other at this time?
Wait, with the speaker with Lindsay, we have he's never slow to make a little dig about Warrington beating Saints, which unfortunately they've done too often in the last couple of years. So he's in fact the very first time in Parliament when I was getting sworn in, and you have to you take your oath, then you go up to the speaker's chair and shake hands and say hello and stuff. And he said straight away, "Oh, Saints aren't having a good year." This was halfway through last year, straight away. So yeah, he doesn't hold back, Lindsay, but he's a great champion of the sport, really, really great champion of rugby league. So's Lisa, and in fact, as the APPG now, we've got a lot of new MPs who are members who were newly elected last year. So Josh Simons from Makerfield has done a great job. Jade Bottrill did a debate last week in Westminster Hall on rugby league, and her speech was fantastic. If people would like to watch that, I recommend it. It was really, really good. Luke Charters. We've got really, really good MPs who get the importance of rugby league to the communities they represent and the wider country. So yeah, it's good. We're all on the same page. You sort of wanted to promote stuff. The honours thing that you mentioned there, so I've raised the fact that no rugby league players had a knighthood in 130 years of the sport. And I named check. I think Billy Boston, Alex Murphy. I had to mention someone from St Helens, so I mentioned Alex Murphy, who deserves something. And obviously Kevin Sinfield. The whole country's aware of Kevin Sinfield and what he's done. Josh Simons has mentioned it again. I think some councils in Wigan and Josh is supporting them have launched a petition to get Billy Boston knighted. I mean, it'd be great. I had a meeting with Clyde Griffiths yesterday actually about the state of Welsh Rugby League and stuff going on there. And we were talking about Billy and the impact he made. I think people of my generation, even and certainly younger, can forget and not appreciate the impact Billy Boston made on the sport and wider cultural life. Not just overcoming sort of class prejudice, but race prejudice and all sorts of prejudice about the game of rugby league in general in the north of England. Yeah, we've got lots to talk about and lots of things to get our teeth into.
Yeah, another political name who is involved in whatever the strategic review is discussing is Lord Kane. Obviously, he's been a big supporter of the game as well over a long period of time. Does the APPG cover the Lords as well as the Commons?
It does, yeah. So Jonathan Lord Kane, he's vice chair of the APPG and he's been involved in it for a long time. So I'd heard of him before through his involvement in the APPG. I was aware of him before I was elected last year, and then obviously delighted that he stayed as one of the officers of the APPG because I know he played a really important role in the last few years with the COVID loans, basically ensuring the sport survived in 2020 when it was, like so many other businesses and other industries, it was on the brink because of what was going on. So Jonathan Kane, Lord Kane, and Judith Cummins as well, who was chair before me, did a fantastic job behind the scenes, and they don't like blowing their own trumpet, which is to their credit. But I've heard from lots and lots of people the difference they made, so they deserve a huge amount of thanks and appreciation for what they did to keep the game going.
And you won't be giving them a ring and saying, right, here are my recommendations. Could you feed them in, please?
Well, I was joking with him last week about that actually when I found out he was on this 5-person panel. Yeah, I'll be having me say as a fan, of course I will. Yeah, as and when I can, I will be abusing my position to get in his ear and make recommendations. Yeah, of course I will. I'd be daft not to.
Right, we'll take that out of context. That's brilliant. We've not stitched anyone up yet. We've not stitched anyone. In terms of the work, how important rugby league is in communities, and it's not just the game itself, but works in schools and with local youth clubs and whatever. Is that seen within Parliament? How important the women's game, so to speak? We had the launch of that yesterday, the wheelchair game, physical disability, learning disability rugby league. How important that is, not just in rugby league, but people see it as a wider aspect in community work.
Yeah, so certainly I know it from St Helens, my experience here. So I played as an amateur. I wasn't very good. I was never going to make it, unfortunately. But yeah, so I played as an amateur. So my whole life I've known the value of the community game, and I see it. I've seen it. So I was council leader before becoming an MP and a teacher before that. So in schools and in the communities, I've seen the value of it. I think some of those names I mentioned before, those MPs now, um, I'm sure a few of them have joined the APPG because they've seen the community impact of the sport. And in fact, Jade Bottrill, the MP who led the debate in Westminster Hall last week, spoke really, really well, really powerfully about the impact of rugby league in communities. Many of which have challenges, specific challenges, whether it's economic, social inequality, and rugby league can play a part in addressing that and helping that, and make a difference.
Because cynics like me, occasionally you'd only see parliamentary candidates turn up at Bellevue, so to speak, when it wasn't as salubrious as it is now. Of course, it's nice now, but they turn up on the pitch with a ball and so on and so forth. But there's a lot of work done behind the scenes that we don't see for cynics like me who think politicians, we know what you're all like. We see you in the papers.
Yeah, no, the people who are involved in it, the names I've mentioned and many others, they are proper rugby league fans. They are. I mean, Jade is a real rugby league fan. It's we're passionate about the sport. I mean, I should probably only really speak for myself, but I've been watching Saints since I was 7. My first match was the Halifax Challenge Cup final that we lost in '87 by a drop goal, and I've been hooked on it ever since. So, for me to be chair of the APPG for rugby league is. I mean, I never thought I'd be an MP. I never dreamt of doing that. And to be doing that and be chair of the APPG for Rugby League, which, I grew up reading Open Rugby magazine and things like that and reading about the work that David Hinchcliffe was doing as chair of it. So he's a name I was aware of. And to think I'm doing that now is, yeah, it's a pinch myself moment. Yeah.
There's a lot of talk, or there was, about the Northern Powerhouse. I'm not so sure if it was ever defined in a sporting sense. We know sort of what it meant, trying to get more economics into the region and devolvement of power. Do you think rugby league could do a little bit more in spearheading that, or is that now a concept that doesn't really mean anything?
Yeah, so it's not a term. That was George Osborne's, wasn't it? Northern Powerhouse, I think, and then Boris Johnson came along with levelling up, and I don't know what the current slogan is. I'm not sure there is one, which is a good thing. I think we've got enough of slogans. But rugby league's definitely got a role to play in it. So the community strategy, the facilities strategy that the RFL has published recently, that's been shared with government. And a lot in that dovetails with what the government is trying to do in terms of getting investment into communities, improving physical health, improving community facilities, pitches, etc., getting into schools, promoting women's sport, wheelchair sport, all sorts of things like this. So a lot of what rugby leagues of sport is trying to do and can do is stuff that the government is trying to do as well. So there is an opportunity because the two do dovetail really, really well.
In terms of you grew up reading Open Rugby magazine. In those days, it was an expansionist vehicle, very, very keen on moving the sport outside maybe just its traditional areas and allowing the rest of the country to enjoy it in the same way we did. There's some big changes planned for London over the next month or so. I don't know if you'll be involved in it, but are you pleased that obviously having a bigger presence in the capital may well help the work that you do?
We need London to be in Super League. I think we need London in the top division. I thought when they went down last year that they didn't, they deserve more than what they got because the performances they put in with the squad they had, life wasn't made easy for them. But I thought they did really well. Yeah, I think we definitely need a London team in Super League. It would make life easier in London. Yeah, to get certain people. If you want to put the game in front of people and get them hooked, you've got to have the product on the pitch there. But I mean, I'm not sure exactly what's you probably know more about this than me. That's what's coming in the next few weeks. But it would be great to have the club on a solid footing, so they can grow. Because I would love London to be in Super League, but I'm an expansionist. But I also see the value and importance, I think, in British sporting culture of promotion and relegation. I think if we to not have promotion and relegation, I think sticks in my throat a little bit just because I just think it's part of British sporting life, and what works in America and what works in Australia is different to here. Um, So I'd like two very strong top divisions, fully pro, if possible, with maybe fewer clubs in each. So we've got that element of promotion and relegation. But yeah, a strong London is essential, I think, for the game.
How is dialogue between MPs and the clubs themselves? Do you have good relationships with, or can we foster better relationships to get more from government, so to speak?
Um, I mean, without being party political, I think it's a bit easier now, probably because we've got, the Secretary of State for Sport, Culture, Media and Sport is a Wigan MP and a fan of the game and understands the game. That's got to help. I think it's important to have as many MPs as possible on side. So I mentioned before I met Clive Griffiths yesterday. Obviously, listeners and yourselves will be well aware of who he is and his role in the sport and what he's done for rugby league in Wales and elsewhere over many, many years. And he's a great guy. First time I've met him, really inspirational guy. We were talking about how we can help the game in Wales. So there's a job of work to be done to get Welsh MPs on side and aware of the community clubs that exist right across Wales. So they might not have a Super League club, but they've got rugby league clubs. So I think getting them on side with this opportunity that we've got, as I say, with a new government that's got a Secretary of State from the top down who understand the sport, um, it's an opportunity, and we've got to make sure we're ready for it. But I think we are.
In terms of international relations, do you have any cross-channel support from France? Because obviously we've got two teams from that country in our competition at the moment.
Yeah, so that's not yet, but that is on the to-do list, and I'm going to be writing as well to the Australian equivalent ahead of the Ashes, and inviting them over if they come in, they're more than welcome. Yeah, I mean that's really important. It's Lindsay Hoyler's been good at that as a speaker. He's great at foster as a speaker of the House of Commons. He meets all sorts of people all the time. But I think he's shown the way to do it and do it well. So yeah, that's definitely something we can and should do because France has their own challenges, don't they, with the governance of the sport and in French political life. The history of the game over there, they've had more challenges than we have even, and that's saying something. So I think there's definitely stuff we can do together to help.
Mention of the Ashes there, obviously very important, I would imagine, for you that there's a game in London at Wembley, something that you're saying you need to showcase it. You can almost get your gilt edge invitations out now for that. But you must be excited about the prospect of rugby league being played at Bramley Moor Dock as well, close to your heart, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Liverpool fan, so but
That's why I said it, just to make you.
but I'll go. It does look a fantastic stadium, and that will be a really good occasion. That, and I think it's a smart move picking a new stadium there for it because you'll get a lot of people going out of curiosity who want to see the new stadium, find out what it's like. That'll be the first time many people will have been there because not everyone's an Everton season ticket holder. So yeah, that will be a really good occasion. That I think the stadiums they've picked are good. I think they make sense. I'm glad one's in London. It didn't have to be Wembley for me. There's loads of stadiums in London which could have hosted it, but Wembley does have a certain history and legacy in the Ashes. I was watching a clip last night of the 1990 Test when we beat them in the 1995 World Cup opener, which I was at with Diana Ross was there before, and then Paul Neal scored that great interception try, and yeah, it was brilliant. So the stadium has a lot of memories for the sport and a big significance. So yeah, I think the stadiums they picked are great, and Headingley, obviously, a famous historic Ashes Test venue over many many decades. So I think for the first series in 22 years, it's good to for it to finish. Hopefully the series will be over by then, and England will be 2-0 up, so we can all have a party. But whether it is or it isn't, I'm sure that'll be a fantastic occasion as well at Headingley.
In terms of again looking from maybe what St Helens can achieve and staging a test match again in the Merseyside area, we've taken games to Anfield. There's been a lot of talk over time of Saints need to extend their influence into that area of Liverpool. Can you see that happening?
It's tough because Liverpool is just so football dominated. I mean, this is the problem we have, not just as rugby league, but all sports in this country have soccer just dominates absolutely everything. And I say this as a football fan as well. It's just so difficult to break into any market where football is so culturally central to people's people's sort of hobby time. They just spend, lots of people, if they're sports fans, they just spend every waking minute talking and thinking about football, and it's hard to break into that. I'm sure there's a market there. I mean, I know Saints do great work. Eamon Manasseh and Mike Rush are unfortunate enough to know they're both brilliant guys, and the staff there behind the scenes are fantastic, and they work really hard, not just in St Helens, but in the wider Merseyside area to spread the gospel and to get into schools and do work in the community. They do an amazing job. But I think in terms of, so I'm sure there's more to do, but I think in terms of breaking into Liverpool, it's a tough ask, and we should maybe manage our expectations with that. And there's no shame in that because football is just it's the global game, isn't it? You
It's
know, we
one of those.
shouldn't beat ourselves up for not being able to compete with football.
It's one of those things I think Australians forget. Or they don't realise how big and dominating it is over absolutely everything in this country, and not just sport, but the news as well. If a footballer does something, it's front page news
Absolutely.
these days.
Absolutely, and it's not just the Premier League. It's that you've got four divisions, and most clubs in all those four divisions get more turning up than Super League clubs do. So that's just the reality. That's where it is. It wasn't always like that, obviously, but that it is, and it's going to be tough to change that.
At least now the Totally Wicked Stadium, well, I think we're supposed to call it the TWS, aren't we? So we don't promote vaping. It's the home of Liverpool women's football team rather. So there's another Super League club playing at that stadium. And I guess that's a challenge for a lot of clubs is to find ways of filling their stadia not just for Super League games on a weekly basis in the summer.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, one of the things that's most impressed me is Hull KR getting Coldplay to play there this summer. Hull KR Coldplay at Craven Park, But yeah, I think that's the world we're in, isn't it? With these stadiums getting the most out of them, milking them for every penny you can get because we need the income and we shouldn't turn our noses up at that. So it's good. And the Liverpool women's games at Saints have gone down really well. So again, it's good. Yeah.
Rugby League, how do you feel the season's going so far for Saints? Because some of the fans, we don't want to say they're entitled, they feel a bit entitled because all that success, and now we're gonna at the top of the pile in the men's game. It's a tricky time to be a Saints fan.
It's that dreaded word, isn't it? Transition. It's a transition season, maybe. But you know what? I don't know. I think it's been a really funny season so far off on the pitch. Apart from Hull KR, who've just been consistently really, really good, grinding out results, putting in good performances. Obviously, you've had Hull, the Black and Whites, doing really well, surprising a lot of people. But apart from that, I think it's been, you've got a couple at the bottom who most teams would expect probably to beat, but I think anyone could beat anyone, really. I think it's going to be one of those years where some of the results might be surprising. Hopefully, Saints can come out on top of that.
And looking at Saints women and talking about Wembley earlier, they own that. Taking the women's game to Wembley, I think, has been massive. Again, it shows what we mean by being an inclusive sport. They've been fantastic days out for the club, and obviously for the team as well to give women that stage to play on.
Absolutely, yeah. So for the first final, was it? It was the year before last, wasn't it? It was the year before last, and so me and my son went down, took my eldest down. Obviously, Saints didn't get there. We lost to Wigan in the no, we lost to Lee in the semi-final at Warrington. We were gutted, but then Saints women got there, and we got the coach from the Gerard Arms, which is one of the local pubs who do coaches to all the games. So we got the coach down to Wembley. So I wanted my son to have that experience of, stopping at the services on the way and seeing all the fans and stuff. And the Lee fans had a great day because we were at the same services as them. So I was pleased for them. So we went down, watched the Saints women. It was fantastic. Great occasion for them to play in that arena. Is just brilliant. I mean, who would have imagined that a few years ago? Women's Challenge Cup final at Wembley Stadium. It was brilliant. And long may that continue. The women's game, seeing that grow is just fantastic. And I think it'll be another good season. Hopefully, again, Saints will come out on top because they're doing good stuff off the pitch and on the pitch to get more girls and women involved in the sport. So yeah, fantastic.
And would you be going to Magic Weekend? Do you think that's a good idea? I mean, I know some people say it skews the fixture list and it's one of those loot fixtures that we don't maybe need. You've got Warrington to play, was it 3 times in 6 weeks? But will you be there? Do you think it's a great sense of occasion?
It won't be there, unfortunately, no, but I do enjoy it. And as a fan, I enjoy it watching it on TV. It's just my wife, not so much because she's not a rugby fan, but But when I say, "Oh, it's Magic Weekend," yeah, 6 games on telly all weekend. I'll see you on Monday. It goes down well. So I love it. I think it's great. Yeah. It does skew the fixture list, but we've got a playoff system anyway, so it's fine. Yeah, I mean, and we've got the loop fixtures, which I'd get rid of them. I'd get rid of the loop fixtures in a heartbeat, but obviously money's the factor. But my personal, here's one of the recommendations I'll make to Jonathan Kane. Actually, I'll suggest that we make the Challenge Cup a group stage format, a bit like the Champions League or used to be in football. So the last 16 go into 4 groups of 4, and there's your loop fixtures back, but it's meaningful, and you can add it to the season ticket, boost crowds. There you go. That's my idea.
Well, I think IMG had that one as well, and the clubs voted it down. But that's democracy for you, unfortunately, David.
What do they know? I know. Can't win them all.
Thank you very much for your time, because obviously you do an important job. We're just sat here talking rubbish for half an hour. But what do you do now for the rest of the day? Are you busy answering emails about rugby league governance and other important, well, yeah, definitely more important things?
Yeah, that and lots more besides. Yeah, I'm in the constituency this week. Actually, I'm not down in Parliament this week. I've had some meetings and events on up here. So, yeah, full day of constituency activity and a bit of campaigning as well, a bit of door knocking. So yeah, never stop.
Excellent. Get those rosettes out. David, thank you very much for your time. And we'll catch up with you again at some point in the future, I'm sure.
Definitely. Thanks very much.